Welcome to Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned, where we help guide mothers from symptoms to solutions.
We're Dr. Serena Kaufman and Dr. Veronica Schultz, nervous system specialists helping families discover the missing link in their wellness journey.
Join us as we translate complex health challenges into simple, actionable solutions for you and your children.
Because your family deserves to thrive,
not just survive. Okay, I'm going to set the scene for you a little bit. You know, you're pregnant. And then you started training for birth like the warrior that you are. You read all of the books, took all the classes, got all the gear, set the goals and the intentions. But now that baby is here, I'm going to ask you, who's supporting you in your healing?
Here's the truth. Marathon runners, they aren't just training for the race. They also have a huge program set up for recovery after the race so they can prepare for the rest of their life that comes after the race, right? Because life goes on.
Yep. We're here to tell you that your nervous system needs care, especially now more than ever before, from that physical recovery to hormone shifts to your emotional health. Postpartum chiropractic is not a luxury. It is a lifeline for you, your baby, and honestly, your entire family.
Yeah. And Dr. Veronica and I probably both have patients that we could tell stories on, but both of us have had two babies in two different stressful settings. Really. And so we are our own case studies here. And let me tell you, with Duke, my second baby, because I wasn't in fight or flight when I started pregnancy, the second I had him, I felt my whole body shift into fight or flight. It was crazy and like welled up inside of me because it was such a fast birth that my system just went into shock. And I having chiropractic care was certainly not a luxury. It was seriously, I needed it to get back to a regulated nervous system. It was crazy. We can dive into that more.
Well, I was gonna say I'm probably gonna make your experience be the spotlight because I had our first child in chiropractic school.
Same.
And then I had our second child 3 months before we opened our office.
Yeah.
So mine is not actually going to be, you were like, we had different settings. I'm like, well.
First one. Yeah, that's true.
It was a different stress, but it was, I'm like, I actually realized on his first birthday was the first day that I like exhaled. And I have been getting regular chiropractic care, but I didn't even realize that until I was like, it's been a year.
Yeah.
And I've just been like grinding for a whole year. So I feel like my story might be a little bit different because the spiritual shifts I just had recently are definitely something to like share with you all about because I feel like that's where recently chiropractic care has a great story and like my spiritual journey and all that, but let's focus on yours because you did actually have two different experiences.
Yeah. First baby, we got pregnant a third of the way through chiropractic school, which was try 4, and you know that's like neuroanatomy, neurophysiology, but during COVID, so it could have been worse. But a very stressful season of chiropractic school to be pregnant. But I got pregnant and I realized, okay, I have to serve this baby well. And to do that, I cannot be stressed. And so I just got bad grades.
Bad. They were just like normal grades.
They were normal grades. That neuroanatomy final was bad. It was bad. It's still probably my worst final ever. It was a very bad score because I was like, I don't care. But then hadly try 7, which is another doozy of a.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Actually, I had her at the end of try 6, and then she was 3 months old when I started try 7. So same. But the difference there is, one, I was getting adjusted maybe more than I actually became very protective of who could adjust me. Dr. Jody Weichman was the only person. I was like, Jody.
Fellow PX doc. I love it.
Yeah. There's like very specific people who I let touch my nervous system.
Right.
And then it was huge because I had a whole community of women in school. So even though it was pretty high stress, like, okay, one, I'm adaptable. And I have a community, which was huge for like spiritual and emotional wellness. And then, but it took me comparatively to the second pregnancy, it took me a long time to heal. I mean, I was, to my midwife's dismay, I was going back to school after 2 weeks because we had to, or we would be essentially kicked out from attendance losses, which they have to keep accreditation. We won't get into that. That was a whole riot back in the day.
Well,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I was part of that
I
little
didn't
movement.
either,
I don't
yeah.
know if you've been listening at any point to, there's some like drops that I make about school, and I say that's like 100% of my beef with school was the lack of support for mothers. But anyways,
But that rallied a whole community for us though too, right? Like we all had to, like it was a baby boom once. There were up to 5 of us at a time that were,
they had to rechange the like laws, if you will,
Yeah.
because of us. Yeah, crazy.
so that was huge. But then because I was lifting things and going to school and doing like stressful things for grad school, it took me forever to heal compared to second pregnancy. One, I decided when I graduated in December, I'm just going to take some time off. And then we got pregnant in January. So much time. But it gave me time to like fix
just
that.
enough time for your nervous system to calm down and reproduce.
Yeah. It was like first try. Oh, that worked. Okay, we're going for it.
Weird.
And so, but then I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't focusing on starting a business. I was just being with my kids and being pregnant, which is full time being with my kid, Hadley, and then just full time at home, growing a baby, raising a baby, which I didn't have the chance to do with the first time, right? So I really wanted to take advantage of that. And I remember Dr. Mary Phipps saying, "Good for you. Thank you."
Yeah.
She's like, doing it for all of us. And so that really set the tone for that pregnancy. I was getting adjusted really regularly by another PX doc, Dr. Dylan, shout out. And that could be flexible too, of like, okay, there's more going on in the next few months, so let's bump up to twice a week. And really shifting with what my nervous system needed. But that birth was in Idaho, you can't go past 42 weeks and still have a home birth. And so I cooked my babies for a long time, and I was approaching that 42-week mark. And so that started to get a little stressful. And we did lots of things to try to naturally induce. Then I ended up drinking a castor oil potion. And 2 hours after I drank that, labor started intensely. And I had to do 4 hours later.
Wow.
Yeah. Maybe it was 4 hours. I can't remember now. It all goes away.
That's quick labor.
But it was fast. And my holes, and like, nobody was really ready. My husband was like, "Oh, let's not fill up the tub yet because I don't want it to get cold." And I was like, I just need this baby's coming. I'm like, it's not gonna get cold. Or this is gonna be a real rough, however long it takes for that water to get cold.
Right.
And so he was just like fixing the plumbing, like finishing some caulking in the bathroom. And I was like,
it's go time, yeah.
And so my nervous system would just like, after he came out, I got out of the tub because the water wasn't warm enough. Not because it got cold, it just didn't start out warm enough. My system just shifted totally to fight or flight. I felt the shift, and like so much tension built up so quickly. It was just like a light switch. And I don't actually know what I would have done without chiropractic care to pull me back out of that. I truly was just in shock, and I needed something to manually remove that shock from my physical body. And so I was seeing Dr. Dillon came to my house, which was lovely, maybe twice, but then I live 3 minutes from the office. And so we were able to pop in twice a week to kind of get my system reset. And that was huge. And my recovery time was cut in half compared to my recovery with Hadley, right? I didn't care if that's a huge, like a cheat code almost. Like if you don't tear, it's like recoveries. And oftentimes it's way more simple. But I was able to just re-regulate so much faster, and then everything just kind of went back to its original place a lot faster.
Yeah.
And I credit a lot of that to chiropractic care.
Yeah.
And then also taking care of my nervous system before I was even pregnant, right? So you have to like, there was the pre-work of creating regulation before I got pregnant and during pregnancy, and then having something set up for my well-being postpartum. So that was also, it's not just chiropractic care, it's also, I have people set up to help me who I actually want in my bubble postpartum. Like, because to me,
yes, your team.
Yeah, my team Like, people are like, "Oh, be careful who you let in your bubble for birth." Yeah, but also my bubble is smaller for postpartum, and I realized that with Hadley, of, like, all of the visitors and just people when they're visiting, we still don't realize, like, I can't host, right? And,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm staying in my bed, I can't move, like, my pelvic floor is just obliterated, okay? So, like, I'm not moving anywhere because I just physically can't,
Yeah.
like, energy-wise, baby-wise, all of that. So, just realizing my bubble had to be smaller and it had to be safe people for me to heal. Because I noticed people who
Mm-hmm.
weren't there are people who came to visit who weren't healing, and it really
Mm-hmm.
delayed my healing with Hadley, so I had to just protect that. And then a
Mm-hmm.
friend also gifted me a postpartum massage, and Megan Doyle in Boise, she for like Treasure Valley people, everyone who's pregnant knows about her. She's amazing. She'll come to
Mm-hmm.
your house and do a postpartum specific massage with like visceral,
That's
like
awesome.
organ stuff, and belly binding, that kind of thing. So people were loving on me in that way. And then I prepared really, really nutritious meals after baby came too. So it's just like soups and stews and warm foods that were easy to digest. So there's
Mm-hmm.
it's more than just chiropractic care, right? You can't
Mm-hmm.
solely rely on getting to an appointment and having an adjustment, right? You have to worry about the physical, the chemical, and the emotional. But
Mm-hmm.
that was huge for me.
Maybe I do want to interject here because I'm just listening to your story and I'm like, okay, well maybe I should tell my story because most people I mean, if everyone could have that beautiful of a like pregnancy and beginning to like life, that would be fantastic and ideal and what we all pray and hope for. But if your birth or pregnancy was anything like mine, maybe we should, I'm thinking we might even turn this into like part 1, part 2, right? Because maybe we'll just share our stories and
Yeah.
then we'll talk about the science on the next episode, because my pregnancy was the complete opposite of yours. Unfortunately, I actually was associating with a doctor and
Oh, you did that.
abruptly found out that it was no longer going to work. So
Yeah.
what we were, we lived in one income for a while. We were expecting at least a year or 2, maybe even 3. She was kind of trying to negotiate more than 3 years with me there at the office, but at least 2 income household, right? There was that. And then on a Friday, one afternoon, she was like, we just, well, that's a lie. We had talked about me breaking off a little bit sooner than a year because it just wasn't working in the office. And then one Friday, she was like, well, just consider this your last day. So I was 26 weeks pregnant, down to 1 income again overnight. And I feel like the Lord was calling me out of the office anyway, but I just was not expecting it to look like that. We actually had a trip to go see my best chiropractic friend, Callie, in Colorado. So we were like, last day, I got told I wasn't going to return back to work. Next day, flying out a plane with luckily my like husband and my one, or at the time 2-year-old, was gonna come with me. I like traveling, so that was fine. But it was just kind of like, oh, like I don't have a job and we're leaving tomorrow on a flight. And I had like this raging sinus infection. I remember I actually had to take antibiotics because I could not kick this. I was working in an environment that I didn't love. Had a lot of unknowns. We were talking about maybe potentially changing jobs. I ended up losing my job. So just ended up taking antibiotics during my pregnancy. So it was like, I hadn't been on antibiotics for years. I hadn't had this amount of stress a long time. Like, it was just kind of everything all at once. And so my pregnancy, the rest of the pregnancy was me trying to figure out how to open an office in like a 6 months time. I did have a home birth, so I'm very thankful that we did have that. And I did have a very restful postpartum. I honestly think we had maybe the opposite postpartum experience because it was finally like I was able to breathe. Like, I was just like, my only job for the next 2 to 4 weeks is to just take care of this baby. And so I actually had like okay, like I can breathe.
Yeah.
While with this like newborn.
Yeah, I get the baby blues, it seems. And so and I'm just such a baby about being injured and not having full mobility.
Yeah.
I'm just like so lame about it anyway. So
No, I mean, but I think it's great. It just shows the different like spectrums of recovery.
Yeah.
And how like my pregnancy was very stressful, and I did get chiropractic care, but I didn't have necessarily neurologically focused. Like, I just didn't have the community yet. Hadn't necessarily found PX docs either. So it was a very I almost want to say my pregnancy with Isaiah was harder, which now that talking about this, I'm like, he's not as great of a sleeper and he's very kind of high strung. So now I'm like, where is this coming from? Weird. But yes, all that to say, if your pregnancy sounded a little bit more like mine, just know that chiropractic care still helps so much, because I still was getting adjusted once a week, sometimes more. When I went to Colorado, it was honestly kind of good timing, because then I got adjusted that whole weekend, right? So I did have actually a little bit of support. And postpartum, I will say Grant, my husband, got 4 weeks off. So like we actually were a whole team for like a whole month, and it was honestly a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. And I think postpartum would have looked a lot different had I not had that. So very thankful for, that. So yeah, I think no matter how you look at it, you could have kind of like what Dr. Serena shared. It's like this, got to take some time off and had this like very restful, beautiful pregnancy. But then postpartum was like, oh my gosh, like fight, flight alert, or like vice versa, right? Like very, very stressful pregnancy. Postpartum hits and you're like, oh, I can breathe with a newborn for a second while my husband takes the crazy toddler to the park every day, right? Yeah. Or you maybe had, unfortunately, you could have had a stressful pregnancy, a stressful postpartum. All of that to say every mama needs chiropractic care, right? Because we just had 2 very different scenarios, but both scenarios needed chiropractic care immensely before, during, and after pregnancy, postpartum, all that. And then if you have stressful pregnancy and postpartum, you need it even more so to set yourself up for success for the next however many years, right? 18 years, right? Plus, but also your kids too, which we talk a lot about.
Yeah, because let's talk about this more in the next episode. But the trend that we see and that we worry about is that a mom who's stressed and high strung going into pregnancy, everything is going to be amplified. So all of your weaknesses before you get pregnant are just seriously amplified in pregnancy, except for autoimmune stuff, because babies are magical in that regard. But
there's actually science behind that too, if we ever want to.
Yeah.
Cool. But
so what the pattern I tend to see then is moms aren't sleeping. Like sleep is just the number one thing that's hit when someone gets pregnant and their nervous system is stuck in fight or flight. Mm-hmm. And that after you're not sleeping, everything just goes downhill, right? But then they get heartburn and they're throwing up a lot, which does not have to be the case, right? We don't have to be throwing up every morning. Mm-hmm. And so then they're taking sleeping medication and they're taking nausea medication. And then because there's just cortisol pumping through their veins, their reproductive and digestive hormones aren't working as well. And so then it's harder to get into have a baby mode, right? So that's oxytocin and all of the hormone cascade that happens when your body and baby is ready to come out. And so then that leads to a higher chance of birth interventions and a stressful birth, and then a really stressed out baby, and a longer recovery period for mom, and then less sleep from there. This is why moms say like, wow, having kids is just such a commitment and so difficult. And I've never understood that. Like, well, that's like growing a baby is the easy part. Like I can be pregnant all the time and I can have babies, but like, I was just talking to someone the other day about these ultra marathons that are 100 miles. I think that's what it is. I was like, I would literally rather give birth and run 100 miles. Easy peasy. I can do that in 4 hours. I cannot run an ultra in 4 hours.
I don't know that I completely agree.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
I love that for you, Dr. Serena. I agree, though. Like, I don't think that, at least for me, I'm very thankful that our birth experience have not determined how many kids we want. Like, that to me is so sad, because it's like, I know of women who are like, I had one, it was horrific, I don't want even anymore. And it's like, now it's like, because of all this stress that was built out, now it's dictating what your family looks like. And that, right. So
or it's like physically of like, well, you had this really traumatic birth.
Right.
Like, even if it's someone else, like if it's a physiological event, I want to prevent that too, right? So we can talk about, how about we talk about in the next episode, how to prevent that cascade of neurological stress trickling down all the way into our babies and their infancy and childhood.
Why don't we? I think that's good for today. If you want to stay tuned.
Thank you for joining us on Motherhood, Aligned and Assigned.
We hope today's episode helped you connect the dots in your family's health journey.
Remember, this is where nervous system health meets motherhood wisdom.
Until next time, we're Dr. Veronica Schiltz.
And Dr. Serena Kaufman, supporting you as you nurture your family's well-being.
Because when you're aligned, everyone thrives.